And we will now go to our next speaker, who is Carol Hunter. Carol Hunter is a member of Wicklow Women for Women. She is living in Ireland and is going to talk to us about how to organise a local meeting. And I'm going to chat to you and ask you some questions. But so you came on a while back and you had set up a local meeting, and I was really impressed with the way that you managed to get local councillors, teachers, quite a lot of local people, and maybe some journalists along, which just seemed like a really straightforward, just call a meeting and people came. Would you be able to tell us how you did that, bearing in mind that quite a lot of women here don't know how to do that thing?
Wicklow Women for Women set up the meeting, not me, Carol Hunter. I mean, as one of them, of course, I helped, but I don't want to give the idea that that I'm sort of a leader of this particular group. I think I had a quick look through the timeline of this. We went to a Women's Space Conference, the first real national conference at the event that there had been in Ireland, on the 12th of November. We randomly met in the bar, the group of us, and discovered we were going home on the same train. I think there were 4 or 5 of us. Started chatting and said something has to be done about this. Realized we lived close to each other. And so the next day I set up a WhatsApp group so we could start talking. And immediately all that great big stuff started spilling out, as it does. We had our first proper meeting on the 19th of November. There were 7 of us by this time. And we were thinking about doing letter writing and everything like that as a way forward in this. And then I can't remember which one of us it was. We just said, well, why don't we have a meeting? And instead of thinking of all the reasons why we couldn't have a meeting, we thought of all the reasons why it was a good idea. So I think that's probably the first step. You have a band of a small group of people, and they needn't necessarily have done anything activist in the past at all. You just get together, you discover that you all care about this, and you realize that you've got to do something about it, even in a really small way, that your voice can make a little bit of a difference. And so I guess you've got to have an activist mindset, but it can be as few as 4 or 5 people. You need that, I think, just to take the strain off each other and for the enthusiasm building bit of the exercise.
Yeah. I know that in local areas, there are normally buildings like church halls that are very cheap to hire, or schools. You can sometimes hire schools, and also local councillors. While the council might be promoting gender identity ideology, often some of those councillors, the local representatives, could be worried about it or just believe in free speech. And I think things have got to the stage where we're going to have a lot more open doors to that. But yeah, do continue about how you did it.
Yeah, I mean, we had our first event on the 24th of January. So basically there was about a month with Christmas in the middle that we decided to do this. And we, of course, talked about a venue, and venue is important. Round here, we decided, because there's not an awful lot of choice, but there was a local hotel, and we just decided, quite frankly, that we were going to take the cost of it on our shoulders and just split it as a way of getting started. It's convenient locally, this hotel. It has car parking, had a room, they do conferencing, so we knew that we could get projection, and things like that. So there's a smart television system. And we reckoned room for about 60 people. So that's what we thought about doing. We then thought about what topic would most grab people, because we wanted something that was a real hook to get people in. And we were also aware of the fact that the area we live in is very, very woke. So we knew that we might be fighting against the current here to a large extent. Nonetheless, so I went along to the local hotel and said, how much will your room be for the evening? And And they didn't even ask. They said, "What's it for?" And I said, "It's for Wicklow Women for Women talking about education."
Brilliant.
And they said, "Just fine, you know." So, which is what we were doing. A bit economical with the truth there, but never mind. It was exactly what we were doing, because we decided that education is a good hook. Children, whatever else is going on around here, people, women have children in school, and there are a lot of changes, like in the UK and elsewhere, there are lots of changes going on with the curriculum at the moment. And they're really pushing hard on introducing gender ideology into schools through the curriculum, through all age groups. And so we reckoned that most people don't know this is happening. This would be, we'd use it as an information session for people to come along and ask questions about what was happening.
And what was the title of your meeting?
We just planned a little A5 leaflet, which we had printed off cheaply on the internet. We designed it ourselves. We decided we needed a logo. So we there again went on the internet and went to one of these free logo type sites and came up with something which was extremely amateurish, but will do. We set up an email address, Wicklow Women for Women, and also a Twitter account, so that we could put this on the leaflet as well. And the leaflet was basically a series of questions. Do you know what's on the new curriculum? Has anybody explained it to you? Do you know these basics? Would you like to come along and discuss this? So, and the venue. So very top line stuff. Nothing anybody could hook onto as being hateful or as being too controversial, perhaps, you know. So we deliberately kept it very, very neutral in its wording, but I don't think there would have been any misunderstanding where what our position might be on it, but nonetheless, it was very neutral. We then decided that we could do with some speakers for this rather than just us. So we basically just randomly contacted people. And that's it. I think you've just really got to do that. You've got to randomly put yourself out there and say, "Hi, you don't know me at all, but we are, and we're concerned about this. We know you're concerned about this. We're doing this talk. Any chance that somebody can come along and talk to us about it?" So we got in touch with the Countess, which is one of the bigger nationwide pressure groups here on our side, and they sent along somebody who they were preparing stuff anyway about the curriculum. So they had a ready expert, if you will, a woman who lived not that far away and had children, so was very user-friendly from this point of view. And we tried Stella O'Malley, and she said yes.
Wow.
So
did you put that on your leaflet? Were they on your leaflet, or is your leaflet, or did they? Yes. Yeah. But they probably, do you think people would have come anyway? You didn't need the names.
I think they would have done, because I don't think the names meant a thing to them. Quite frankly, I don't think it meant anything to them. But we then decided that we would contact every single councillor and the local TDs, that's our MPs. We were really unsure about how to advertise this, because we were worried about what could or couldn't happen. We were all very determined to be brave, but we didn't know. So we discussed doing things like standing outside school gates and handing out the leaflets. And in the end, we didn't really do that. A bit of it. A lot of it was word of mouth in the end, and just saying to people that we knew, tell other people. So we did have there were some people we knew who were teachers, and got in touch with a couple of them and asked them to spread the message. So basically that's it. We put it out there. And then we had absolutely no idea what would happen. So
and it's I think there's two things that, well, I really like the way that you just said it will do. I really agree with that rather than thinking things going to be very good or excellent or even good. I think that just saying, oh, the logo will do. And if it turns out, if I think that's enough, because just actually doing it turns out it was quite a big success, and then will precipitate more. And it sounds as if it was a bit of a surprise how successful it was.
We were astonished.
Yeah.
We had literally gone along thinking, well, if nobody at all turns up, we just go and have a drink in the bar. That's basically what we'll do. And I can still remember it was started at 7:30 in the evening, and by 7:25, there were about 8 people there, and I was getting quite sort of and being quite British about it. They're not here yet. Forgetting, of course, even though I am now Irish and I've lived here for a long time, that everybody started arriving at 20 to 8, that sort of thing. And then people just arrived, and we had over 60 people turned up.
Wow.
The leader of the county council came with his wife. A few other councillors came. None of our local MPs came, but we weren't exactly surprised about that. What turned out to be a lot of teachers, some of our neighbours, people we knew turned up, and family, but basically it was people we didn't know, and they turned up and they spoke.
So when you say they spoke, so you had your 2 speakers, and then were there lots of conversations or workshops?
We actually had 3 speakers, because we had Kerry Black, who tweets as Fem Loves, came down from the north to talk from a lesbian perspective as well, which we thought would sort of tie in with the transing away the gay bit and things like that can happen in schools as a result of curriculum changes and what have you. So she was there as well. So we covered basically Sandra from the Countess talked about the actual nuts and bolts of the curriculum. Stella talked about gender ideology in regards to children and what that can do, and Kerry talked about that gay perspective on things, and then the audience, especially the teachers, really wanted to talk about it and about the problems they're having in their classrooms.
And how did that work? Did you break into groups, or did you just all talk in this big room?
Yeah, basically. Yes, it wasn't hugely big, the room. It worked without a microphone, in fact, so somebody standing up could just be heard. And they did. They spoke. And we had a mother who revealed that her daughter of 14 was a desister, how strongly she felt about it. The atmosphere was really engaged, and meaningful. And the head of one of the local, no, they're not local, they're national media people. We did contact the local newspapers and things like that as well to see if anybody would come. But I think one of them turned up. But more to the point, there is a media company called Gripped here in Ireland who do a lot of this more left field reporting. And so they sent somebody along. They also, I think they were hooked by the idea of Stella O'Malley being there. If we hadn't had her, they wouldn't have bothered, but we did, and they wanted to interview her. So they did that. And then afterwards, they interviewed one of us as well. And that helped get everything out there.
That's so fantastic. Yeah. And what's you going to do now? Have you got plans for the future?
The other really important thing to do is to get email addresses from everybody there. Just grab them, get email addresses for absolutely everybody the whole time. And so once you've got your email contact list, then you get in touch with them. You find out that they might have other networks going on at a very, very low level, grassroots level of friends, and you tie in with them. So at the moment on my contact list, it's not very big numbers as these things go, but I have about 60 people throughout the country now on my contact lists. So we're encouraging them to set up locally in the same way that we did. We're encouraging them trying to send out a newsletter sort of email to them to encourage them about writing letters. We got a lot of names as well from the GenSpect conference. So there are lots of therapists. So there are lots of professional people on these contact lists now, as well as just ordinary people like me. Yeah. And
what I've noticed is that it's got to a stage now where loads of people are peak transing and they want to talk about it. And so I've had a few encounters with people who've just very recently peak transed, and they would like to just talk about it for 5 days, just non-stop. And so I've a few times said, look, I just don't have 5 days to talk to you about this right now. But I think that's a function that we can play, that you've played, and we can copy you, is by setting up these meetings and then there being a bar afterwards, like in Standing for Women, everyone goes to the pub, then there's lots of chance for everybody to really, they don't just want to hear, they want to say their thing, don't they? And really participate.
The next thing we're doing on the 8th of July, we're having a picnic.
Oh, wow. So brilliant.
We're having a picnic now. I live near the sea. So a nearby town has very easy rail access, for example. And the station's right next to the beach and the promenade. So we'll meet next to the bandstand. People can bring their kids and we will have a real social get together for chatting and everything like that. So if the worst comes to the worst and it pours with rain, there is the pub across the road.
And it's going to look really bad visuals, isn't it, if trans rights activists try to stop Wicklow Women for Women having a picnic.
In the end, nobody turned up. I mean, I had friends who said, I'm crossing my fingers for you. We hope you'll be safe. And, nobody has actually ever... I get more kickback from my kids than I do from anybody else, I'll tell you, unfortunately. But so we're doing that. And the next meeting, because I want to organize another meeting in the near future, will be about women's rights. I really want to prioritize women's rights as opposed to what's going on in schools and things like that, because I think I think the women's rights bit is beginning to slip a little bit off the agenda. In a meaningful way. So that will be the next thing. So I intend to just invite absolutely anybody that I think of who will be important and who might come and talk to us.